Some people walk past pain every single day without noticing it. Others stop for just one moment, and change a life forever. On a freezing winter evening in Chicago, a tired waitress gave away the only hot meal she had left to a homeless man sitting alone outside her diner. She thought it was just a small act of kindness. What happened 3 days later shocked the entire neighborhood and proved that even the smallest kindness can come back in ways nobody expects. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment sharing the kindest thing someone has ever done for you. Your story could inspire someone else today. The snow had been falling since early morning. By evening, the streets of Chicago looked almost frozen in time. Cars moved slowly through the icy roads, and people rushed past each other with their heads down, trying to escape the cold wind. Inside a small family diner called Rosie's Grill, 28-year-old Emily Carter wiped down tables after another long shift. Her feet hurt. Her back hurt. And honestly, life had not been easy lately. Emily worked double shifts almost every day just to keep up with rent after her mother became sick. Bills were piling up faster than she could pay them. Some nights she skipped dinner so her younger brother could eat more. But even with all the pressure in her life, Emily still smiled at customers like nothing was wrong. Her co-workers always wondered how she stayed so kind. Because everyone is fighting something, she once told them quietly. That night, business was slow because of the snowstorm. Around closing time, most customers had already left. Emily packed the remaining food into containers before heading home. That's when she noticed him. An older man sat alone on the bench outside the diner. His coat looked thin and worn out. Snow covered his shoulders, and his hands shook from the cold. People walked past him without even looking. Emily stared through the window for a moment. She knew she barely had enough money for herself. She knew she needed to get home. But something about the man's eyes stopped her. They looked tired. Not just physically tired. The kind of tired that comes from life breaking someone over and over again. Emily grabbed the last container of hot soup and a sandwich from the counter. Then she walked outside into the freezing wind. "Sir," she said softly. "You should eat something warm." The man looked surprised. Almost confused. "For me?" he asked. Emily nodded and handed him the food. His hands trembled as he accepted it. "I can pay you back someday," he whispered. Emily smiled gently. "You don't owe me anything." For a moment, the man looked like he might cry. "Most people don't even see me anymore," he said quietly. Emily sat beside him for a few seconds despite the cold. "My mom used to say kindness matters most when nobody is watching," she told him. The man stared at her carefully, as if trying to remember her face forever. Then Emily stood up, wished him good night, and walked home through the snow without thinking much more about it. To her, it was just soup. Just a sandwich. Just a small act of kindness. But to the man on the bench, it meant everything. The next morning, Emily's alarm rang at 5:30. She dragged herself out of bed and prepared for another exhausting day. At the diner, customers came and went as usual. Coffee cups clinked. Plates slammed. Orders piled up. Life moved on. 3 days later, Emily arrived at work and noticed something unusual. A black luxury car sat parked outside Rosie's Grill. Inside the diner stood a tall man wearing an expensive coat. Beside him was the restaurant owner, Rosie herself, looking nervous and excited at the same time. As soon as Emily walked in, the stranger turned toward her. "Are you Emily Carter?" he asked. Emily nodded slowly. The man smiled. "My name is Daniel Bennett. I've been searching for you." Emily looked confused. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded photograph. It was the homeless man from outside the diner. "My father," Daniel said. Emily's eyes widened. Daniel explained that his father, Arthur Bennett, had once owned a successful construction company years ago. But after losing his wife to cancer, Arthur fell into deep depression. He slowly lost his business, his home, and eventually contact with his family. For years, Daniel searched for him across different cities. 3 nights earlier, Arthur had finally called his son after receiving Emily's kindness outside the diner. He said a waitress reminded him that the world still had good people in it, Daniel explained. That one act gave him the courage to contact us again. Emily covered her mouth in shock. Daniel continued speaking, his voice emotional. My father is in a warm hospital room now. He's safe. And before resting last night, he made me promise to find the woman who saved his life. Emily's eyes filled with tears. I didn't save anyone, she whispered. Yes, you did, Daniel replied gently. You saw someone everybody else ignored. The entire diner had gone silent listening to the conversation. Rosie wiped tears from her eyes behind the counter. Then Daniel handed Emily an envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter from Arthur. The handwriting shook across the page. Dear Emily, you treated me like a human being when I had forgotten my own worth. That bowl of soup was more than food. It reminded me I still mattered. Thank you for your kindness. You gave an old man hope again. Emily could barely finish reading through her tears. But Daniel wasn't done. My father also wanted me to do something else, he said. He explained that Arthur had recently regained access to part of his savings and wanted to help people who had once helped him. Daniel smiled warmly. He asked us to pay your mother's medical bills. Emily froze. What? We already contacted the hospital this morning, Daniel said. The remaining balance has been covered. Emily burst into tears right there in the middle of the diner. For months she had carried fear inside her heart. Fear of losing her mother. Fear of never catching up financially. Fear of drowning under responsibilities. And now, because of one simple act of kindness, a miracle had entered her life. Rosie hugged Emily tightly while customers nearby quietly clapped. But the story didn't end there. Weeks later, Arthur Bennett returned to Rosie's grill wearing clean clothes and a warm coat. He looked healthier, stronger, and happier. When Emily saw him walk through the door, she immediately smiled. Arthur hugged her tightly. You gave me my life back, he said. No, Emily replied softly. You chose to keep going. Arthur became a regular at the diner after that. Sometimes he helped wash dishes. Sometimes he sat and talked with lonely customers. He especially loved paying for meals for people who couldn't afford them. Slowly, kindness spread through the neighborhood. One customer secretly paid for a struggling single mother's breakfast. A teenager started volunteering at a shelter after hearing Emily's story. Local businesses began donating winter coats and food during snowstorms. All because one tired waitress decided to stop and care. Months later, a local news station interviewed Emily about what happened. The reporter asked her a question people always wondered. Did you ever imagine your small act of kindness would change so many lives? Emily smiled quietly before answering. Kindness is never small, she said. We just don't always get to see how far it travels. Those words spread all over social media. Thousands of people shared them. Schools printed them on bulletin boards. Churches used them in sermons. But Emily never cared about becoming famous. She still worked at Rosie's Grill. She still smiled at strangers. And every winter night, she carried extra sandwiches in her bag, just in case someone needed one. Because she understood something many people forget. Most people are not looking for miracles. Sometimes they're simply looking for someone to notice them. Someone to remind them they matter. Someone to show even a little kindness in a cold world. And maybe that's the real power of kindness. Not money. Not fame. Not recognition. Just one human heart choosing to care about another. So today, if you see someone hurting, struggling, or standing alone, don't ignore them. A smile, a kind word, or even a simple meal could become the reason someone keeps going. You may never fully know the impact of your kindness. But somewhere, someday, it could change a life forever. And just like Emily discovered on that snowy Chicago night, kindness always finds its way back home.